Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the leading employee benefits and engagement platform.
Hi everyone, this is Sushmita from Vantage HR Influencer Podcast. Today we have with us a very experienced HR leader who is also a speaker, author, and a blogger, Soumyasanto Sen. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, Sushmita. Nice to be here.
Yeah, a pleasure this side too. So before we get started, we would like to know a little more about you and your journey in HR.
Yes. So I'm into HR tech for the last 17 years, like mostly involved in implementing HR solution both on-premise and cloud. And for many years, a part of digitization of HR and transformation journey with large organizations. So part of several digital transformation projects for HR in the last many years. I've been also part of the transitions which is happening currently with the digital age. If you've seen from there are a lot of changes going around with that uncertainty, that things are changing fast, technology is coming. Yeah. So I've been with a lot of involvement in engagement in AI-driven analytics, culture analytics, human-machine collaborations, next-generation organizations, future of work. So all this involvement with my research and programs, writing, speaking, and also helping others in the community. It's my passion as well. Also involved with several startups on the HR tech for the last many years. So overall, it's a very interesting space to work on, and I'm glad that part of that.
Okay, great. So the topic today we are taking up is understanding digital HR and the future of work, right? So although the topic digital HR is a very hot topic, and many of us would like to understand what exactly it means.
Yeah, so digital HR, if you see have too many different perspectives, if you see from different people, different companies, different leaders. For me, is different, and that's how I started engaging into digital HR space, and then I do my research, I work in that space, and also book is also about on that part. Yeah. So for me, HR should be broader, when you're considering the whole transformation which is going around with the digital edge. And also it's very important that you attain the sustainability at some point of time.
Right.
So for I always say digital HR is much more than just digitizing your current processes or just buying a cloud solutions and buying digital solutions. This is not digital HR. This is definitely some actionable item on that, but that's not the starting point. So for me, that's important. When you think about digital HR, it should be something which can be used of digital technology to resolve business issues and add value-creating opportunities to the business. Because if you don't create values to the business, I don't think it will add any significant impact on the business. And that's digital HR have the possibilities with that. The second point I will mention here, it should be a complete rethinking of the organizations when you talk about it, because in respect to the culture, strategies, and operations. So when you talk about the organizations, it's definitely related to the business people, business functions, and definitely the whole HR organizations should be also shifting. We have seen from many decades, which is still going on, and that's digital HR is giving us again the opportunity to shift in the right direction. There's a point which I will mention here is it can also emphasizing more human-centric experience, collaborations, and new way of work. So we have seen there are separate topics discussion on use of employee experience or use of data-driven HR analytics. So I think that's a huge opportunity, which also part of segments of digital HR, which can be leveraged a huge outcome for the business. And at the end, when everything goes on alignment on all this part, it's very important that you also align and simplify your process. So process excellence definitely comes into picture. But what I've noticed, many of the cases, it's taken as a first priority. Let's change the process, let's digitize the process, but which I think it's not right if you really want to make a big impact with digital HR.
Okay. So the transformation from traditional HR to digital HR has seen numerous benefits to date, right? So according to you, what are the topmost advantages of going digital in HR?
So as I mentioned, your last question, digital HR give us really opportunity to think HR in a different way. And there are several, but I will mention few of them. Like one is thing is there is a possible, like we can have to rethink HR in that HR can be also a profit center, right? Creating value to business, customer, HR customers, which are employees, managers, the executive, and the investors, like at the end. And that's a huge possibilities which we can think around. So there are several discussions on this also, like how HR can be a profit center from a cost center. I think with digital HR, this could be make it a more height, right? So it's a possibility there. The next part which I will mention is the consumerization of HR. HR, like if you think like today, HR is more as a support function rather than rather than is a ability to help the consumer oriented mindset.
Yeah.
So I think that should be focused more. Like if you see like most of the HR system, HR solution are very much focused on processes and HR driven. So we have to really focus on more consumer driven. For us, like HR organizations, the consumers are the employees. And right, if you make a better experience to employees, give really business value with the employees, it's automatically give a new direction for HR, right? And that's what the advantage with digital HR. And then there's always an opportunity when you see like when you use technology like analytics and use data to make better decision, more evidence-based decision for your business, it's really make a huge impact. And that's the many organizations following that. So that's the advantage. I will say the primary advantage. There are many, but I can see this argument.
Okay. So you have authored a really informative book named Digital HR Strategy. And as far as I know, it goes on around 3 steps or 3 parts, which you have named as Revolution, Survival, and Sustainability, which describes the entire HR transformation journey of businesses. It sounds really interesting. So would you like to explain the same? Like you can take it one by one. Let's talk about Revolution first.
Yes. So thanks for mentioning that. So yes, so I mentioned for me, like digital HR is a whole bunch of journey.
Yeah.
And when I see my target is also to how it can leverage organization for sustainability or attend making a sustainable transformation. And I think and for that it is very important you really phase your journey in a way that you can really sustain at the end. And it's not a one-shot approach; it's rather than a pragmatic approach to going step by step.
Yes.
And that's what I mentioned in as you said, I mentioned a different roadmap of the phases, which you already I take it in 3 ways: revolution, survival, and sustainability. And then all of these phases have its own broader different strategies. So when you talk about revolution, like for me, revolution is something with, right? And as I said, it's good to start with implementing some cloud solution or thinking about the processes, thinking about how we can impact employees and managers, executives with digital solution from the HR. But again, talk about revolution, it started also with very specific things about the whole disruptions which is occurring in the digital world. And you have to understand also the challenge with the VUCA, like we call it volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity and complexity, which is also there in the organizations today and the whole world. I think is challenge. Every business function is going through a phase here, like transformation here, and so does HR has an opportunity. And a revolution phase is more focusing. When I say phase, it should focus more on to learn from others, to learn from other business functions, to make a digital mindset for the transformation, because you really have to work on the mindsets with focusing how we can change it, how we can make it better. And then build up strategy for better value propositions for the business. And then also include building right strategy. It should also aligning business strategy with people strategy, and then formally making digital strategy for HR, which may be more data driven, and we then change the culture as well. So these are some of the things which are part of revolution phase, where organizations and leader can focus on. The main topic is how we can build a people-centric transformation to start with. So that's the phase. It's a starting point. It's like a fire,
Okay. Yeah.
setting up fire, in your journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I talk about the next,
Yeah.
which is
Survival.
Yeah, survival, which is you can see is the step which is more focused on the workforce, right? So when you talk about the workforce, it's all employees, everyone who's working. And when you talk about workforces, I already mentioned, I think digital HR has the possibilities to really create a human-centric experience, right? And that's includes definitely more engagement with employee experience, their well-being, their workplaces, focusing on digital workplaces. We have seen now, right, with COVID situations, like most of the companies are working remote. And this arises with this crisis, but I think in future it will give also a opportunity to think organizations to going beyond their current working style. So the way of working is changing. So this is one of the very good example which we are facing with the crisis. And the next part is also coming with increase or of the technologies like artificial intelligence or intelligence systems, because we also have noticed the future of jobs and future of work is also changing. We have seen there a lot of new jobs are arriving, a lot of jobs are getting obsoleting. So new roles are defining for employees and people. This is also making a huge change in the market, for the organizations, for the people, and there are also tension around it, right? So whether my job will be there in the next few years or not. So these are something which is also going on, and that's why the survival phase will help to understand how we should make strategies so that in future all these new roles can be adopted easily with these employees and people, and old role which are obsoleting, we can equip it. And for that, it's very important part is the learning, right? So we are now totally focusing on new way of learnings and how we can skill employees, how we can upskilling employees, a lot of collaborations. And there is always a big collaboration which is also coming, working of human and machine together. So we have to think which tasks can be done by machines easily, and then humans are free. People can be free to do more creative based tasks, more innovative based tasks. That's how the whole working style is changing. And I think that's how it's also the digital HR have an opportunity here to really survive in this environment, which is changing very fast and along with the machines. So that's the part which is this phase is focusing on.
Okay.
The last one, which is sustainability, which is I think our final goal. Once you start with revolution, you reach a state, you can then start surviving with all those challenges, all those change, like machines and all those things. Your working style, things like pandemic, which you're facing. This is a crisis. This is also how we can survive in crisis. So I think the next stage is to really make you sustainable. That's how you can future if you can really lead in the front, even in the crisis, even in the challenge, you can really sustain it. And for that, the next phase is to really make your organizations transform to a more responsive, right? How we can make your organizations more as a living system, because most of the organizations today are more very bureaucratic. They are working in silos. The cross-team collaboration is very less. We have seen challenges with diversities. We have seen there are always a discussion on different new leadership style. And all things are something which organizations have to really focus on. And then for sustainability, one of the very important factors is the innovation. So we have seen today, most of the successful companies are taken as the most innovative companies as well. That's how you can sustain in this ever-changing world. And even innovation is very important. For better innovation, it has been a lot of research done. You really need better diversity. You need better innovation culture. You need leaderships. And this cannot be achieved by your own. You really have to build also a big learning ecosystem. You have to also, organization really have to think about the development of the people. They have to part of the ecosystem and build a community. And then you can also build your network around that. So it's all these things links to the sustainability part. That's the last stage. And once the organization can reach that stage, they can be more sustainable for the future. And that's how this digital HR has possibility to bring it from starting from nothing to the sustainable world.
But in case of small businesses and their HR professionals, considering their size, many might not be able to invest in technology, but it is equally important for them. So what are your views on how they can overcome this challenge?
As I mentioned it before, like for me, like investing in technology is not something really the focus point of the digital HR, right? So yes, the cost is involved there, but I think before that, they really have to find out like what business value they can gain from those digital solutions, how it can impact the workforce in a positive way, how it can impact the organizations, how it can help the organizations to build a culture which can sustain for a long, long time, and how can make it better to make the process like better and excellent, so that all the employees and the workforce can use it in a much efficient way. And these are something which these smaller organizations should think first before investing anything. Because I have also seen like a lot of organizations are really buying like huge amount to buy solutions, digital solution, even HR. And then at the end, they have no idea like where to go forward, because they have struggled because they haven't seen seen the right roadmap which they can build for future. And they have stuck in between, like where to go from now. And like where is a return of investment? We have invested so much. Where is the return? You cannot really determine your return unless you really build a strategy from your beginning. And that's the missing part we have seen. And that's how there's also a lot of surveys like from big companies like Gartner's, McKinsey, and everyone said like most of the digital transformation failed because of many of this reason. And one of the big reasons are they missed the strategy. So that's why like before really investing on any solution, before planning your cost, I think you really have to see how we can build a business case from that. And that's how you can really work on that. And also like cost, from the cost side, there are different approach to how you make your cost optimization better for your whole HR functions. So you have to really consider your operating model, how you can cost optimization can be done in your HR service, your workforce. It's not only really have to think about cost only for buying solution. You can really cost optimize in different other factors, and you can really find out the cost or find out the money to invest in the solution. So then again, you really have to understand the whole picture. Otherwise, it's very difficult. So it's not about buying a solution. It's really about to rethink your organization.
Okay. So is there a chance that this transformation can eliminate the need for the HR department in near future?
No, not at all.
No, okay.
I say always like it's give a chance, it's a give an opportunity to really re-establish the HR in a different way. So we have seen HR today. HR is more focusing on efficiency, more focusing on processes, more focusing on the administrative work or transactional work. So HR are more known as defining rules, right? So that's how popular in most of the world, and it's digital HR can give opportunity to really think about, instead of efficiency, how we can add a business value to the business leaders. They can part also business like strategist, right? A business advisor. It's also give an opportunity, like think about how they can drive more experience, better experience to employees and workforce, instead of thinking about only processes. And then it can also give an opportunity to being a more better advisor to business rather than just an admin. And at the end, it's also give opportunity to enable change for the organization. So to change the culture of the organizations and change the organization change overall to make it more effective rather than setting up only the rules. So definitely there is a chance to rethink also about HR, and this digital HR view, like broader view, could really help it.
Mm-hmm. So HR should prepare accordingly, right? So how do you think that they should prepare for the future of work in 2025?
Okay, so the most important thing, as I mentioned, like when I describing some part in survival, like when you talk about way of work, what is changing and other. So biggest thing is about the learning, right? So you really have to build a learning ecosystem which can really continuously help the employees and the workforce and the managers, leaders to learn and develop themselves. right? So investing in employees' education, cross trainings, their lateral moves and internship programs definitely helps. And this is already there, but you have to build an environment which can really help it to continuously gain from it. It's not like you invest something for 1 year and then you are looking for some return.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a continuous part of your life that HR can definitely bring that. Need to be ready for that. The next one is adopting new mindset on technology and skill. So there has been a lot of articles, a lot of said has been made like HR is the least interesting business function which are interested in technology. So which is also true, like they're the most lagging behind other business functions. So they are not very much tech savvy. So they're not very much supporting on tech for many, many years. So now things are changing. We have seen, right? So adopting this new mindset of using of technology and the right balance with the skills and human factors are very important. And that's how the work is overall. The next part is, as I mentioned also before, like they have to think about how to redesign the business in terms of process and work. And when HR is giving like advisory to the business, it's more focusing on their workforce. And we all know, right, most of the business, including CEO today, workforce and the talents are the most difficult or challenging part still today. Yeah. Like it's still one of the top challenge for any CEO, like to really stick with the right talent, their development, engagement, their retaining talent. So this is always a big thing, and HR can play a huge role there. And at the end, which I mentioned, like as we are already part of a world where humans and machines are working together, a lot of applications, artificial systems are replacing a lot of our current jobs and roles. So HR have to really think like how we can make it balance between human and machines, and how we can collaborate. As I mentioned, like we really have to work, they can really have to work on the skill management, like which type of skill and task can be done by machines, and then how we can help other workforce and people to rebuild or reskilling on different aspect of human factor, like creativity, innovations. So there are a lot of opportunities here where HR have to think on when they have really considering the talent economy and the future of work.
Yeah. So last but not the least, would you like to give some other tips to the HRs listening to us now for successful digital HR transformation?
Yeah, so transformation again is a big name. So again, it's a different perspective for different people, different leaders. So even like, as I said, like a simple cloud solution can be taken as also a digital transformation for some companies. Yeah. Then a whole new set of organization change can be also. So I think it's very important first to start with questions rather than just following others, like why we need to transform, what makes sense for us, where to start, who can help, how to change. So these are something very important, like, and this is also I try to capture in my book, which I mentioned, like different questions around different timeline, which questions are very important to ask to start with. Because if you see like the key to successful transformations are also numerous, like, you have to foster a sense of urgency and readiness. That's important. Like, and then start with leaders from the top. Really have to, leadership is a very important role for successful transformations. Yeah. And really challenge your old way of working because, and I think some of the things are very, today is very visible. I think, yes, like in past it's very difficult to make it understand, but today with the COVID situation, now every organization is rethinking, okay, like let's see like remote work for the future. I'm sure the organization start thinking. Yeah. This is an example. Like you have to rethink on your way of working, and remote work is one of the example as such. Yeah. And then you have to find also your informal leaders and who can integrate, who can be collaborative. And then you have to be more innovative also, like, so you have to create a culture where your employees and workforce, your leaders are more innovative or more do experiment with new thinking. And all these things need really big change in the culture, big change in the way of like their mindset and everything. And that's why like start with mindset, it start with change in the culture. The whole transformation is needed for the organizations. That's why like the whole successful transformation can be, or sustainable transformation only can be achieved when you think in a bigger way, and you start with the right thing and you build up your strategy and you define your roadmap and path and go step by step. And it should be also agile. Like, it's not like there's a recipe you just checking.
Yeah.
You really have to reconsider. You have to measure every time how you're progressing. You can use your data for getting better decision. And at the end, you always have to think how we can make a positive impact to your business. So that's how you can define your transformation.
Okay. Actually, there's a lot more to learn from you, and it will be awesome if you can share the best way people can reach out to you.
Yeah, so I'm always happy to make my knowledge share to anyone.
Yeah.
And it's the most easy way is LinkedIn. So I'm very much active in LinkedIn normally. So, and I regularly check my messages and other, and you can always find a way to communicate to start with there.
Okay.
So yeah, you can find me in LinkedIn. You can read my book if you like. That's also one very good channel to start getting the knowledge. I have a lot of put effort there with all my experience so far, and I think it will help. I got a really good review so far by many also from the top leaders and other. So hope it can help.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. It was great having you on our show. Thanks for joining.
I'm glad. Thank you, Sushmita.
Thanks for listening to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for new episodes.